How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and question was sent my way. Hey Gange, what makes a great supervisor? That's a great question. I've taken some really good advice in my career, so I'm going to personalize this video a little bit. I've talked about what makes a great leader, so some stuff may parallel, but I want to talk about the advice that was given to me and how I've applied it in my career to make me an okay supervisor. Nobody's perfect. And guys, by all means, those in the front line, if you want to give your advice, comment below. Let's see those comments, because you never know who's reading it, who may take those comments in. You never know. You have future supervisors coming up that may want to look to see what you feel, what you think. But in the meantime, let's go to our sponsors. And when I come back, we'll talk about, in my opinion, what makes a great supervisor. And guys, please, if you haven't, like this channel. Come on, subscribe to the channel, interact, engage, comment, and hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. I stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
Thank you guys for listening to my sponsors. You know, as I said, I did a role on leadership. I think some of the information here may parallel. But I decided to become a supervisor 8 years into my career. That's 1/3 of my career. And I think if you worked around me, people could start seeing the changes, because I wanted to know a little bit more. I wanted to kind of understand a little bit of the running of the correctional facility. Some things were specific to the facility, but I was looking for more of the background stuff that may be applied at other facilities, so more general knowledge. And the reason why I decided to move up, there's two reasons. One was I started getting bored. 1/3 of my career in, I knew I had to make this a career. I knew I had about another 16, 17 years left. You know, I got to do something different, or I'm going to just tire out. And another motivating factor, which don't make this a factor for you, but it was one of mine, was I saw who could potentially become my boss. People who I felt just didn't know the job. And I didn't want to be a frontline employee who bitched and moaned about people making these positions of higher rank and not do anything about it. So that motivated me to move up. Certain people I just didn't want to work under, or had the potential to work under. Well, one of the things that was a great transition for you, because you guys got to remember, becoming a frontline supervisor is the biggest step you'll ever make in your career, because it's going to be the first step in which you start supervising others. So you have to step up and take responsibility of the people that are under you. So when you take that position, you do not work in isolation of your frontline staff. You have to be willing to take on the responsibility of their work. And if you're not willing to take on the responsibility of their work, you're not ready to be a supervisor. Okay, that's the first advice someone gave me. Gange, it's the hardest step in your career, because you're going to have to take on the responsibility of other people's work. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go down for somebody else's work? And it's like, wow. But eventually I thought it over and said, yeah, if I have to, because we don't work in isolation. I encourage team mentality, teamwork. So, yeah, that was one of the biggest decisions for me. Am I willing to take on the responsibility of someone else's work? But once I went through that and I decided, yeah, I'm willing to do that, now it's all about the transition. How do I transition into becoming a supervisor? I started maybe making small changes, very small changes, while I was coming to the end of my career as an officer. Subtle changes. Like I said, wanting to learn a little more, getting myself more familiar with other aspects of the facility, but more of the general running of the facility. But it's also, I wanted people to see me differently. And that was hard. That was extremely hard. But what made that transition easier for me was I was sent to another facility to become a supervisor. So the people that I worked with at the new facility, all they saw me as was a supervisor. We didn't have a history of us working together as an officer. So that really helped me in my transition. I mean, that really, really helped me. That just put me right into the role. Had I stayed in the same facility, the transition would have been a little bit different, because I would still have the people I worked with as an officer, and they would probably still see me as an officer. So what helped me at the new transition or at the new place, was that they didn't see me as an officer. They saw me as a supervisor. And because of how they saw me, I was able to adjust easier into my position. So the move from one facility to another was great. I highly recommend it. If it's not that big of a drive for you, I highly recommend it, because it helps you adjust into that role. And then eventually there will be people that may come into your facility that you worked with as an officer, but now everyone around you already sees you as a supervisor. You see yourself as a supervisor, and then they start adjusting to the new role. It's no longer about you adjusting, it's about them adjusting. Also, on another note, when you become that first level supervisor, you're starting to try to remove yourself from that frontline responsibility. So this is the initial step. And what you want to do is you want to start getting yourself into the practice of definitely empowering your employees, letting them make the decisions that need to happen, because as you start to move up and your span of control becomes bigger, your area of control, you can't be making decisions for everyone. At certain levels, you're hoping that things kind of run on automatic. And basically, unless there's something wrong with the machine, there's really no reason for you to get involved. It's just, I need to get this done. And then there's some discretion on the front line as to how to get it done, because they're the experts. They're immediately there where the work has to be done, so they know what fits in best. So I really think in today's world, there's really no need for micromanaging. But there is a good need for that teamwork, that collective vision, how to get things done. If there's a problem, let's talk about it collectively, and let's figure out if there's a way that we can work things. But remember, you're looking to empower your employees, because maybe they're looking to become supervisors. So if you keep on micromanaging them and not giving them a chance to make a decision, well, then you're not developing them, or you're not giving them the tools that they're going to need when they decide to become a supervisor. So I think that some of my best supervisors gave me the discretion needed to do the job effectively, which also gave me the confidence as I moved up in the field to become a supervisor, because I was used to making decisions. So again, that's definitely very, very important. And remember, before I talked about that we don't work in isolation, that we're a team, which means that failure and success is built together. You don't fail in isolation, you don't succeed in isolation. Running with that, I believe that you also have to have a genuine care for those you supervise, because they're part of the team, they're part of the mission, and you have to care for their well-being. You have to definitely do what you can to make sure the employee morale is where it should be. And as a supervisor, especially the frontline supervisor, the immediate supervisor, that's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to make sure that there's no issues in the workplace that really mess with operations, and employee morale is key. And don't forget, guys, if we're not happy amongst each other, we're also vulnerable to inmate manipulation. Corrections, you gotta have good employee morale. You want everybody to see that they're part of the team, part of the family, and when they see themselves that way, it's harder for the inmates to pull them out. It's harder for the inmates to isolate them. So we need to encourage that behind the wall. And that's something where a good leader does. A good leader definitely looks to do what they can to increase employee morale. And that deals with recognizing good work. Recognizing good work is key. Recognizing good work is key to increasing employee morale. So if you have people that do good work, even if it's in their job detail, it doesn't matter. Recognize them. Recognize them. Make people want to come to work. Be that type of supervisor. You know, because I'll tell you something. If you start giving people the empowerment to do what they got to do, that means that they take responsibility for the choices that they make, good or bad. When you start giving them that sense of responsibility and you start commenting on the good that they do, they take ownership of that, and that's great. And then if they do something wrong, you can be constructive with that, help to build, look at it as not so much as a discipline, but how do we make this better? What do we need to correct? Make them want to see you. You know, I used to hate when the principal called me in the office because I knew it was always going to be negative. So even if the principal had something positive to say, I just dreaded meeting them. Don't be that type of supervisor. Be the supervisor that gives a balance, you know, between the good and the bad. You know, so when people see you, they're not dreading to see you. You know, and either way, if you're constructive with the negative, they're going to want to learn. They're going to want to see what they could do differently. And if you're commenting on the good, they're going to look forward to seeing you either way. So I think that's good because, again, that increases employee morale. Plus, that makes people willing to accept criticism, constructive criticism. If you're constantly always negative, the moment they see you, they're resistant. You know, I'm done with this. This guy always ridicules my work. I'm done listening to him. But if you come out with positive when it's required, you know, you comment the good, then if you have to say something constructive to help build from something that was negative, they will be open to listen to that because they know that you see the balance of both, the good and the bad, and they know that you're out to make them better. That's the key. And I'm going to end on this. One more thing, too. You don't know everything when you become a supervisor. And a lot of the information you're going to learn is from the people that know those areas the best, and that is your frontline staff. So don't walk in like you know everything. Walk in knowing that you need to learn and that you're willing to learn. That's the key. And I think that if you're willing to listen to your employees, they will be more open to seeing you as not just a supervisor, but as a leader. And at the end of the day, when your employees start seeing you as a leader, that means that they're willing to follow. So some people can claim that they're a supervisor, but some people can claim that they're a leader. And ultimately, that's what I strive to be. I strive to be a leader. As always, guys, love you guys. The show is Tier Talk. Stay safe. And don't forget, subscribe, guys. Subscribe to this channel. Interact, engage, and hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. Take care. Stay safe.